I'm so pleased to have this opportunity to share some insights into my topic, financial and administrative systems. I've been hoping that this video system will help you live out the advice of the author of Ecclesiastes that says to do whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. Internal control is defined as the process to ensure reliable financial reporting, effective and efficient operations, and compliance with applicable laws and regulations. Safeguarding assets against theft and unauthorized use, acquisition, or disposal is also a part of internal control. Trust is not an internal control. Make sure you have dual controls, at least 2 sets of eyes on everything financial. Have 2 people count the offering together. Have someone approve expenditures before they go to the treasurer, and have 2 people look at checks, and if the treasurer writes checks, then have someone else look at the bank statement first. Make sure bank accounts are reconciled monthly and have someone check to make sure they're done. Let's talk about tax exemption. The first type of tax exemption status relates to the U.S. government. Churches by federal law are exempt entities. They are exempt from income taxes and can receive contributions that are deductible to donors. That's what we mean when we call a church a 501c3. Every church should have their own federal tax ID number, or TIN, sometimes called an employer identification number, or EIN. They're the same thing. They're very easy to get, and they can be filed online, electronically, or by paper form. Go to the IRS Gov and search on the employer ID number. It's almost as easy as getting an email address, but all this does is let the IRS know that you exist. One of the benefits of being a part of the Wesleyan Church is the inclusion of all Wesleyan entities under the IRS group exemption number for the Wesleyan Church. It's kind of like an umbrella. It offers protection. Every year, the General Church files a report with the Internal Revenue Service listing every Wesleyan church, district, school, college, and other entity that's part of the denomination inside the United States. There are occasions where churches may make money outside the realm of their tax-exempt status and have what's called unrelated business income tax, or UBIT. While every church should be able to say they use profits from any activity for their exempt purpose, they can still have income that's taxable. Here are a few examples. Churches with a mortgage that rent out their space to a business, churches that have advertising revenue, or churches that operate a restaurant. If it looks like a business, the IRS may call it a business, and if it makes money, it's probably going to be taxed. The second type of tax-exempt status relates to being exempted from sales and use tax by your state. Not every state considers churches to be exempt from paying sales and use tax. Most do in some form, but not all. It's important to check out the situation in your particular state. The third type of tax-exempt status relates to property taxes. This too varies from state to state. It's important to know what and when reports must be filed in your particular state. Let's talk about charitable gifts for a moment. Individuals must have documentation receiving every contribution exceeding $250 if they want to deduct it on their U.S. tax return. The best approach is to prepare an annual statement that includes every gift individually listed that is tax deductible. For example, payments for costs associated to a youth trip to an amusement park are not deductible. However, contributions for a mission trip generally are. Gifts of services are not deductible by donors, so don't issue a charitable receipt or put the item on an annual statement. Furthermore, it's not the church's job or place to value non-cash gifts, according to the IRS, but issue an acknowledgement or thank you. One more piece of advice on this topic. Don't let your church be used as a conduit for contributions to other organizations outside the Wesleyan Church family. This is not a plug for Wesleyan causes. They have the same exempt purpose as you do, others may not. If someone tries to give you a gift that is earmarked for a specific individual or has numerous restrictions on the gift, don't accept it. Gifts that you accept must be under the full control of your church and must fulfill your exempt purpose. Let's talk for a moment about employer versus independent contract. I hope by now you're getting the idea that governments are looking for every dollar they can get. The rules in this area have been refined and narrowed so that not many positions are independent contractors. Church janitors aren't, paid nursery workers aren't, worship leaders aren't, youth pastors aren't, and pastors aren't. The common law factors that define whether an individual is an employee or independent contractor relate to the degree of control and independence in 3 categories: behavior, finances, and the type of relationship. In layman's terms, if you can tell one specifically what to do, when to do it, If they use your equipment and you don't have a defined contractual type of relationship, the position should be treated as an employee, and all relevant employment laws and regulations apply. Let's talk about payroll for a moment. Your salary and all benefits should be approved annually by a governing body, and the pastor should recuse himself or herself from discussion and vote. Decisions in the process should be documented in writing and include housing arrangements, self-employment tax reimbursements, health and other insurance benefits, pension benefits, vacation and other absence policies. I recommend churches exclude reimbursements for business and entertainment expenses from the pastor's compensation package. By nature, business expense reimbursements relate to doing the job, not supporting the pastor and his family. Clergy housing allowances should be reviewed annually and cannot be applied retroactively. Of all the things I say on this video, this is my best advice to you. Outsource your payroll. The money spent can help you sleep better at night and will definitely help your treasurer. The biggest players nationally are ADP and Paychex. We use the ADP at headquarters. I've been testing a very inexpensive option through stewardship.payroll.com for one of our denominational entities. So far, it looks very good. Let's talk about excess benefit transactions. The Internal Revenue Code contains regulations relating to a nasty phrase and concept called excess benefit transactions. There are significant penalties, as much as 200% of the amount involved plus interest and penalties, that can accrue if such an event occurs. If you and I receive any benefit below the market value of the gift, it must be reported as taxable income. That means your church must put the value on your W-2, and if they don't, you must include the income on your tax return. The best defense is to be sure that you don't blur the lines between your professional and private financial life, that you don't view the church's assets as your own. Let's talk about accountable expense reimbursement plans. This is a recognized best practice, and I recommend that every church have a policy regarding the reimbursement of credit card payments to pastors and employees. The policy should require a business purpose for the expense, that employees substantiate the expense, and that they return any excess reimbursements. Here's what the IRS is looking for on documentation. It's the 5 W's. Who, what, when, where, and why. Who participated? List the names. What did you buy? When? The date of the transaction. Where? The name of the vendor. And most important, why? The business purpose. Most receipts contain the what, when, and where, but you should make sure the who and why is also documented. The why doesn't have to be much. 2 or 3 words can suffice as long as an outsider can discern the business purpose. Remember the 5 W's. Who, what, when, where, and why. It could be a nice sermon outline.